Every release from every software company ever promises to bring game-changing enhancements that will unlock hidden potential that's been just out of reach. But when users get their hands on those updates, are they all they were cracked up to be? Which begs the question, this being the eClinicalWorks podcast, is eClinicalWorks V12 worth the hype? Now, here to help me answer that question is Dr. Seth Eaton from MedPeds in Laurel, Maryland, on today's eClinicalWorks podcast. Dr. Eaton, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Well, it's a pleasure, Adam.
Dr. Eaton, MedPeds has a long and pioneering history with eClinicalWorks, which continues with your adoption of version 12. I heard you started preparing for this update in October, which was, if I'm not mistaken, nearly 4 months before you actually got the upgrade. Was that a difficult switch to make, and what was that process like?
The switch is really fairly routine. There have been so many upgrades over the years. This was a little bigger switch because it's a browser-based, and we were with the eClinicalWorks using the desktop version from the beginning. And there was a reluctance of many providers to move to the browser version. And this was the major cultural shift that we had difficulty in convincing people. We've been trying to move to the browser. I moved to the browser about a year ago. And it was really a sort of challenge to get all the providers to make that move. But we had a history when we first went with the eClinicalWorks, which was back in 2004. We had an experience where we had all paper charts, and then we scanned all the paper charts, and we got rid of all the paper charts, so there were no paper charts available, and everyone had to go electronic back in 2004. And so we had that experience where we said this was sort of like the Big Bang theory of getting used to eClinicalWorks, no paper charts, you have to use electronic. So we made that conversion back in 2004. So it was a fairly natural sequence to say, well, we really need to move to the browser. Everyone's just going to move to the browser. In fact, we're going to get rid of the desktop version on your computer. You can't use it anymore. So we gave everyone notice, that we were going to be doing that. And then there was sort of a drop dead date that we said, this is what we're doing. And there really was not a whole lot of feedback. I think some of the most reluctant providers who going to the browser had been with us when we converted to electronics as well. So there really wasn't any kind of negative feedback to that process.
You've been down that road before, is what it sounds like, and you brought them along very successfully from what I can hear. So the upgrade that you did receive about a month ago at this point, what effects have you seen with version 12 compared to version 11?
Well, we're still working through that as everyone is still trying to make the integration to the browser version. On a personal level, as we moved to version 12, there were sufficient features that were new compared to version 11 that allowed my own personal productivity to improve about 10% over the course of the week, which, in terms of visit volume, that's a huge increase for me personally. And I was just able to get my notes done more quickly, able to get through my documents and labs and DIs, communicate to patients better with this version faster than the prior. So for me personally, it's about a 10% improvement of visit volume with the same amount of time involved in patient care and administrative care. I think everyone else is sort of working through that. I had been on version 11 myself, so I didn't have to make a conversion to the browser and version 12. I just was going from 11 to 12. Some of this has to do with really embracing some of the more robust features on version 12. And I think one of the benefits we've seen this last year in helping me move to some of these things is we've had support from eClinicalWorks, their business team, that's given me insight on some of the features that I'm not fully taking advantage of. And I think one of the other advantages going to version 12 for us is our office manager attended the conference, the national conference this year, and she found there were just so many benefits to version 12, which I was able to incorporate as I moved to 12. And we were able to educate all the staff in advance, thanks to her attending the conference. And And, it was not just productivity of providers, there were billing consequences that were extraordinarily positive from attending the conference as well.
But I want to also dig into some more of these features, since you're talking about features. Which are the features that you're finding are having the biggest impact on your productivity that you're mentioning?
I think the order sets are better managed. The macros are much better managed. There's easier way of communicating with patients through Messenger and the web and the text and so forth. There are just a lot of subtle things that add up in productivity. I think for me personally, the macros with version 12 have been a real boon. That's something that's still room for more improvement over the next few months.
Now, another feature that we talked about with version 12 was the status lights for the orders, the labs and DIs that you might place during a visit. Are you making use of that feature? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a huge enhancement because previously you were never quite sure whether the orders really went through. And if patients would call back, the staff was really not sure that the orders went through. And so now it's all very visible at point of care. It's visible with patient callbacks. So that's an enhancement that is easy to see visibly in the progress note and telephone message.
And, it should be noted for anybody who's watching this that, we're just really scratching the surface here with version 12 enhancements. There's lots of other things like enhanced medication search and better scheduling features and all sorts of productivity things as well.
Medication search, I think that's one of the features that is much better. There's something about writing the meds that's so much easier than the previous version. I can't quite identify exactly how that's worked, but it's clearly better than 11. Both the search as well as writing, it just saves time.
Well, if you can't identify it, maybe that's the best compliment you can give it, because it's working and you don't even realize it. That's awesome. So there is a lot of functionality in version 12, as we know. What did you do to support your users to get the most out of this upgrade? And as we said, go through that preparation process.
Some of this was one-on-one precepting with different providers as to what are some of the new enhancements that I would sit with each provider. There was also some printed material we gave. And then we're also hiring the business team to send some trainers down to eClinicalWorks to us, where they're going to spend a total of, I think, 5 days over a course of a month, one-on-one with anyone in the office who's having some issues to make sure people are up to speed. Because I think one of the key pieces that can be said is it's an ongoing training with this complex software. I mean, we had the training back one-on-one for a week in 2004. We've had training through the conferences, but I think we've identified that the money spent with having ongoing training on site is worth it. And I can't speak highly enough to say that the conference is something, I think, if you really have a engagement with this platform, someone needs to go to the conference from your practice to stay up to speed.
Yeah, I know we see you there every year, and we're looking forward to seeing you again this year, of course. And absolutely, the conference is a great event, not only to attend the sessions, but also to be able to network with other practices that are doing the same things, having the same, working through the same challenges and finding successes in those. So yeah, absolutely, I second that idea that the conference is a very powerful resource that people can make use of. So Dr. Eaton, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here today. We're thrilled to have you with us. All right, do you have anything planned for your 20th anniversary on eClinicalWorks next year?
That's a good question. I think we'll have to send Garish a card. He's done a marvelous job over the years to keep the product moving in a positive way. Well, it's been a pleasure, Adam, with this journey. So shout out to the whole team. You guys have done really an amazing job over the years.
Thank you. Well, there's a lot more to learn about version 12, and eClinicalWorks has plenty of resources to help anybody who's watching. Of course, you can visit my.eclinicalworks.com, where we have live webinars, recorded webinars, user guides, release notes. You can also sign up for training at discounted rates for version 12 as well. And of course, as Dr. Eaton mentioned, reach out to your business development contact and find out what they can do to help you to understand what new capabilities there are in version 12. And don't forget to check out our other eClinicalWorks podcasts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and my.eclinicalworks.com. For the eClinicalWorks podcast, I'm Adam Salati, and thanks for watching.